previously on the Uprising.
It's 7:13 on Gaga CFM. Welcome to the Women's Day edition of the Uprising. Njabs Zwane is my name. Now until 9 o'clock. I did promise you, Guti, right about this time we are going to be having a conversation with an incredible woman who I think we really should, as a province, sit up and take note of. Akujwayelekile ukuthi sithole a lot of black female fiction writers, more importantly, that are really breaking boundaries where their writing is concerned. Babhala ngezinto that we consider taboo, raunchy, or some words that have been used to describe Snegugu's writing, by me, of course. But it's good nonetheless because we are breaking boundaries, and that's what celebrating Abantu Besifazane also includes. So welcome to the show, Snegugu, and happy Women's Day.
Thank you so much, Njabs. Thank you for having me. I'm good. Thank you.
With 2 books under their belt. So firstly, well done on how far you've come as an author, but let's go back. Okay? Baninga bantu who love reading, baninga bantu who love books, but not too many of them, especially in the black community, will ever get to be published authors. So take me back. Let's track a journey yako to where you are now, right from the beginning. Uthando lwakho lwencwadi. How far back can you trace it? Where did it start?
Okay, first of all, happy Women's Day to you. Happy Women's Day to all the women out there. And shout out to my family for waking up this morning to listen to me and my friends and everyone else. So I can trace it back to when I was 9 years old, I think. I went to an old girls' school in Montevelo, which is now Our Lady of the Rosary. And Antuami Utatabama, I'm not supposed to call her Umamngani, but you know, Skulesi to Auntie, she loved reading. So, why to my phone, I would actually read with her. I understand when she's paging through the page, and I'm, in a page.
Yeah.
I think eventually, I started, when I got to understand English and all that, I went to a Montevelo where we had strict rules for us to learn the language. So I think when I was about 10 years old, I could actually read and complete a book. And then I think from there onwards, because in school you have plenty of time outside of school, you're there the entire time, so we would read. And then my love for books started then, first as a reader. And I think by the time I got to matric, I was really deep into it.
So wait, this is your journey now as a reader and how you learned to love books.
Yes.
When does that love of reading then turn into a love of ukubhala? Because umbhali wena manje.
So when I was in standard 9, grade 11, right?
Yeah.
Standards. So when I was in grade 11, I actually attempted to write a book. We were using Gotukwa. We didn't have a computer. No, we did not. So I wrote in a 2-choir exercise book. When I was in grade 11, I was 15 years old at that time. I wrote a book. I think there was probably 4 pages left on the 2-choir book. When ngibhala mina my book by hand, pen and paper.
Okay.
At that time, and Musa tati break, people would want to read. So I think abanye baxabana because someone was reading and not paying attention to them, and then they took that entire exercise book, which is 4 pages in it, and I was almost done with my book, and threw it in a pit toilet. Oh my word, yeah. I think that's where, because I attempted thereafter, I think discouragement, and disappointment and hurt was too much. I stopped. So that was 1996, I think. I was in grade 11. That's it. And I did not attempt to write again. But I think that's where my love started.
Sure.
I knew at that time that at some point in my life it would be fiction, because even at that time it was your teen flick sort of, because I was still young then.
So mhlambe khona umuntu that's listening right now and is not very familiar with terms where literature is concerned. So take me through the difference between fiction and non-fiction. Khona so understand ukuthi lo fiction wena okhuluma ngawo nobhala wona umayelana nani.
So fiction is basically made up stories.
Inganekwane welele.
but there's different types of inganekwane.
Yeah.
You get your real life situation types of inganekwane where the writing is based on what happens in real life, other people's experiences and other things. And I think that's where I draw my strength from. And then you get non-fiction, obviously, where you write based on true life events.
Yeah. So wena ugxile ngapha ku fiction.
Yes.
Inganekwane, but inganekwane mnandi. Hayo Harry Potter waba nama monsters la. Into siyazi ukuthi ayikho. All right, so we are speaking to Snegugu Mthembu. She's an author, self-published author of not one but 2 books, The Mind That Often Changes and The Dust That Settles. Namhlanje sithe awukusjoyine. Let's learn more about this art form. Let's learn more about black women in the space of literature. Let's highlight ama challenges mhlambe akhona so that the ones that follow us don't have to face the same barriers that we face. So we are going to be continuing this conversation with Snegugu Mthembu. In the meantime, you can follow us on our social media platforms. It's the Uprising _ZA Njabs Zwane. We'll also share our social media platforms akhe Snegugu, as well as where you can get these books that we're talking about. The next point of conversation that I wanted to get into, Snegugu, Guti, you put very clearly on your work ukuthi you're a self-published author, and that is something I think mhlambe asayinaka ukuthi umuntu mase publishiwe ubani, and what struggles they may have gone through to get published. So explain to us the self-published part. Usuyibhalile incwadi yakho, usuyazi ukuthi ufuna ukuyibona on bookshelves at bookshops, but what does the self-published versus another type of publishing mean?
Okay, so I think when I was done with my book, or even during the whole process, I did a very brief research, I must say, in terms of how I can publish my book. And I think from the little that I did get to understand that it's very easy to get published by your bigger companies or your publishing companies.
Publishing in this, we're talking about print or what?
So you're talking someone who will basically cover your editing, your proofreading, laying out your book, getting it to print, promoting and marketing it for you. So as a publishing companies, they do that. And I think because I didn't really exploit that much, I think then that's where your royalties and everything will come in from the publishing company side of things. So I did realize that it's going to be a very long process if I were to go that route, because you have to send in your books, they have to assess it, see if it's within obviously what they would publish. And I think also what made it easy for me to take the route of self-publishing was the fact that I'm very conscious of my writing, and I take it very seriously. And not that I don't like other people's input, but I think I also sort of feared someone saying, this won't sell.
Noma shintsha lokhu kugcina sekuyinto ongeyona oqale nayo.
Exactly. Yes. So that was the thing for me. So that's why I took the self-publishing route. So when I was done with my book, I knew that's the route that I was going to take.
Now, a lot of people also mhlawumbe abanethalente lokubhala are probably sitting with works of theirs that haven't been published. So mhlambe, can you take us through what the self-publishing route looks like? Uqalaphi?
I think self-publishing is also to be taken as seriously as being published by a well-established publishing company. And by that I mean you also need to really take your time and make sure it's properly edited. Someone else actually looks at it for you, because I think it's very disheartening to read a book with very obvious errors, amongst other things. So I think getting someone else to come in, and obviously getting a professional, I know it's very expensive, but like for me, I got my book to like 5 friends of mine and colleagues to have a look at it, even before I took it to professional editors. And I think with The Mind That Often Changes, I actually got through to 2 different editors, because there's a bit of Zulu in my book as well. So I needed to make sure that someone who understands the language also gets to read the book, so that they could help with that aspect. And then I took it then to a professional editor who then assisted me with laying out the book, proofreading it, the covers and stuff, and then getting it ready for print.
So let's now talk about the Mind That Often Changes and The Dust Settles. The Mind That Often Changes came out first for 2020 during lockdown. Take us through that briefly.
Okay, so Mind Often Changes. That's my baby. It took me 3 months to write, by the way, and I did not even have an outline of the book. Every time I write, I just sit in front of my computer and type.
Yeah.
I didn't have to skip. You know, when you say, let me start with chapter 10 because I know it's going to happen. No, it was like chapter 1 up to chapter 28, like that. So, that book is the sort of book, like I said, with fiction, for me, I like basing it on what has happened. And I know a lot of people have sort of asked, or rather saying, when I was reading this book, I was imagining you. And I have to keep saying, it is not about me. It's not my life. Not at all. I may have drawn strength from certain aspects of my life, because obviously, if you have been loved and know about love and you've loved, so definitely.
So
it is.
Yeah.
The book is about love, and also the challenges that come with it. I think what was going on in my mind when I wrote that book was just to sort of say, well, I'm a sucker for love. That's just me. And I do believe that love still exists and will always be there. But also I wanted to demonstrate that it does not always come with glitz and glam.
I'll be perfect.
Nah, it is not perfect at all. And I think also I wanted to bring that aspect of I'm gonna sound controversial for this, my God. But sometimes you find like the guy, the main character guy in the book, Umangi. You find guys like those. They have it all.
Abanja. Oh, they have it all.
They have it all. They've got money, they're rich, they're in business, they're cute, they're handsome. Every woman swing over them. And you find they don't get into very stable relationships. And that's a decision they take from the onset. So whenever they meet someone, they make it known that I'm not looking for anything deep. You see, now that's the thing. That's the thing. We label them players because we sort of don't understand them. I'm not sitting here saying I understand. You see, that's why I'm putting this disclaimer. But I just feel when someone has been upfront and honest about their intentions on things, you don't have to then think, I'm going to change them. They're going to change in the long run. And when they don't, that's when the labels come.
So how different, or what sets Incwadi Zakho apart from other books that are currently in bookshelves? Because ziningi incwadi ekhona about uthando, but obviously khona logo ozwa wena ngathi kuhlukile about these particular books.
What set my book apart is the fact that it's an authentic book. I think it's very authentic, and I think it's the type of book where every person will find themselves individually within the pages of my book. Things that happen, a lot of people will identify with them, especially women. It's certain things they've gone through in their journey, as well. And I think also with Amandla, who is the female main character in the book as well, it's also sort of deal with things that you go through, because in one way or the other, they sort of catch up with you, because you find her making certain decisions based on her past. She doesn't want people getting closer, because then they'll get to know about certain things. So it also brings that element of, love needs people who are very patient. You need to be very patient. You need to have a bit of tolerance and understanding as well, because you're dealing with someone ongazi what it is that they've been through, and so at certain times you will have to break down certain walls. as well.
So we are speaking to Snegugu Mthembu. In case you joined this conversation, Isi Pagat already. She's a self-published author of 2 books. We're currently talking about The Mind That Often Changes. Guno Olile Jr. on Twitter, Snegugu. Uti, I taught Sne everything she knows about writing. We were in the same class in high school. We are now Uti Mangabusu is superstar. When it come from nowhere, Bazo claim Uti they taught you what you know. So quickly take us through the dust that settles and the process of you now writing a follow-up, because with each other. These books are follow-ups, or the dust that settles rather is a follow-up from the first book. So take me through that process and how that story develops.
So when The Mind That Often Changes sort of ended in a cliffhanger, intentionally so as well, because I think towards the end of writing that book, I felt there was so much that I still needed to say and unpack, and therefore decided to write the follow-up. Which I attempted. I think I started writing the second book, and now this is the difference between the first one and the second. The first one came very easily, like I said, 3 months I was done, but this one honestly took me 2 years, because I'm only publishing it now, and started the journey back then in 2020. But I think with a lot of things that were happening, I just could not bring myself to focus on the book. So that is why this one is a follow-up, and it sort of then now brings perspective to some of the things on the first book, and also then introduces more about the other characters on the first book, just to then bring other people who then contribute towards this relationship as well. And I think that's where you see Umangi really opening up, and also going through things of his own, and also then Amanda having tough decisions to make. Very
tough decisions to make. Mina, I'm one of the lucky few. Abatole exclusive previews of both books, and I can promise you, if you are a book lover, if you are somebody who wants to support really brave black female writers in the KZN space, but also on a national level, Njabs Zwane really will make a mark on you, and will also embed Uguti. The future really is female. Promise Uguti, as we wrap up, I wanted to find out from Snegugu who she considers her literature queens in South Africa. Ngwaphela, we are shining the spotlight on abantu besifazane who are doing remarkable things, specifically for now in the space of literature.
So, funny enough, when I started my love for reading, it was mostly overseas authors, other countries, to an extent that I really was not aware that we have so many great authors in South Africa.
True.
Before I wrote my book, I took about 2 years sabbatical, because I wanted to make sure that when I write my book, it's not diluted with any of other people, even other people's books, even locally. And so when I completed, I think in November 2020, I read The Wife series by Dudu Busani.
Yes.
And I mean, those books came out in 2015.
Yeah.
And she's an incredible writer.
No, she is.
Shout out to her. I think that's who I've read, because she has 5 books out now. So that's one I've really focused on. Of course, I've read books by other authors like Abo and Kaba, Qoniso Ndebele. And I mean, and I'm part of your KZN Women's Authors Forum. Incredible women. There's so much talent.
So, Mangabe, there is a young woman who's listening to you right now and is inspired by your story as a self-published author, Nae. There's works that she has that are sitting ekaya, and maybe she just needs a word of encouragement to go out and actually get these works published one way or another, whether it's by self-publishing or through another company. What would be your message to the young budding author? Because now your journey has had its hiccups, but you are where you are now, so it's a success story nonetheless. So what's your parting shot for Umuntu, who is a woman who is about to embark or wants to embark on the same journey that you've been on?
Dust yourself up, Mtase. no one is going to do it for you. I think you just need to get up and do it. Like I said, obviously it does need finances, because to get an editor, you need that assistance. But I think we've been there, and I'm sure other authors as well would be able to assist where they can. But I think the most important thing is getting your book through that second and third eye, so that what you produce is what you will be proud of when people read it.
It's been a pleasure being in conversation with you, Snegugu Mthembu. I cannot wait for the launch of your second book, The Dust Settles. I'm sure you have created a big appetite for umuntu ongakaze afunde incwadi zakho. Now they really want to know about this Amandla and Mangi and these raunchy sex scenes that we've been talking about in the book, because we hardly get any of those in South African literature. So for umuntu ofunayo ukuthenga incwadi zakho, or who wants to be part of the launches in future, where can they get a hold of copies encwadi?
So the launch is on the 3rd of September. It's happening at the Sugar Rush Park in Ballito. The wine cellar there, 1787 wine cellar, proudly South African wine.
There's going to be the wines also. Yes.
Yeah, there'll be your wine tasting experience, amongst other things. And then the books themselves, currently you do get them directly from me. Unfortunately, part of the journey is disappointments, because I had a distributor, but they really messed me up. So I'm now engaging another distributor. So once the Dust Settled is launched on the 3rd, I will be working with a new distributor who will then take my books through all major bookstores. So I'll have that information up on my social media platforms. On Facebook, it's Amandla and Mangi. On Instagram as well, it is Amandla and Mangi. We've recently opened up your TikTok as well. Again, it's Amandla and Mangi.
Awesome. I wish you an incredible rest of your Women's Day. Ungapheli mandla. I love seeing young, brave black women break into spaces that are really not the easiest to get into, you know. I'm a big publishers, a sub for a reason. It's because of women like you who prove that there really is something to be afraid of. You're incredible. You are talented. All the best moving forward. Let's make sure we go out and support Snegugu Mthembu and all other black female authors. Amandla and Mangi is where you'll find her on the socials. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Njabs. Thank you.